Today we have a story of a Redditor who messed up by Googling about a Pokemon stuffed animal they own and finding out somebody else on the internet loves it a little bit more than they do. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, today I messed up by mooing on the toilet and discovering it actually works. I, 36-year-old female, had a hysterectomy last week, and recovery is basically just finding out how many ways your body can betray you. Sneezing feels like being stabbed, coughing is a crime against humanity, and pooping, good luck. So I'm up late Googling tips because I'm desperate, and I find this random comment where someone goes, "Just moo like a cow. It relaxes your pelvic floor." I rolled my eyes so hard, but next morning I'm on the toilet, sweating, bargaining with the universe, and thought, fine, let's moo. And I did, like a legit deep from the chest moo. And it worked immediately. Like my body just went, ah yes, cow mode engaged. Anyway, here's where I really freaked up. My husband was literally walking past the bathroom as I was mid-moo. He opened the door, we don't usually lock it, and just caught me. We made eye contact, I froze, he froze, and then I absolutely lost it laughing. Except laughing after abdominal surgery feels like being ripped open from the inside. So now I'm sitting there on the toilet, crying, clutching my stomach, half laughing, half mooing, while my poor husband is standing there like, what the actual heck did I just walk into? He didn't know whether to comfort me, call 911, or just slowly back out and pretend none of it happened. So yeah. Today I messed up by mooing on the toilet and learning it actually works, but also prematurely scarring my marriage in the process. Update, I can't believe so many of you mooed with me. Honestly, your comments make me laugh, carefully because ouch, and totally turned my mood around. Thanks for making recovery a little brighter. To those that wondered, I kept my ovaries, so hopefully no early menopause for me, and have started bringing a pillow in with me for laugh emergencies. Alright, be honest, how many of you guys in the comments tried mooing just to see what it felt like? Nothing quite like thousands of people all mooing to feel a little bit more connected to their body and understanding how it works. Moo. Garbage Goat commented, "Girl, I'm dying. I couldn't help myself. I tried a deep moo and could feel my pelvic floor relax, and my man, one room over, yelled, 'Why are you mooing?' Manlover replied, 'I just mooed to test it out too, and I'm having surgery in 3 days, so you better believe I'll be trying this. Post-surgery constipation ain't no joke.' Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of Redditors who severely messed up, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? Our next story is, today I messed up when I shut down my young coworker's advances. Alright Reddit, this particular screw up happened last night, and I'm currently at my desk feeling like I'm just waiting for a bomb to go off. Look, I'm just a regular guy, 32 years old, married to a woman who's way out of my league, and our life is simple and good. I like it that way. I come to work, I do my job, I go home. The last thing I want or need is drama. About a month ago, we hired a new girl, Kay. She's 18, right out of school, and full of that bubbly energy I vaguely remember having. For some reason, she's decided I'm her target. At first, I figured she was just friendly, but it's gotten to a point where I can't ignore it. It's been things like 1. Finding little hearts drawn on my notepads if I leave them in the kitchen. 2. The constant staring. I'll be working and get that feeling someone's watching me, and sure enough, it's her. She just blushes when I look up. 3. Some loudmouth in sales jokingly called her my work wife, and she just ran with it. Started signing notes to me with WW. Just mortifying. 4. The real kicker was when I was talking with a buddy here about wanting kids with my wife, and Kay, who was pretending not to listen in, chirps in with, "I've always thought I'd make a great stepmom." What do you even say to that? My strategy, which in hindsight was pretty dumb, was just to be aggressively married. I would bring my wife up constantly, hoping she would get the message. My wife and I saw that movie, my wife packs my lunch, etc. I thought I was setting a clear boundary. I was not. So this brings us to the freak up last night. It's late and it's just 2 of us left in the office finishing a project. The place is dead quiet. She brings me a coffee I didn't ask for and does that thing where her fingers linger on mine for way too long when she hands it to me. I pull my hands away and she gets this really serious look and asks, "Are you really happy?" And that was it. My patience, which I usually have a lot of, just hit 0. All the weeks and awkwardness and cringing just boiled over. I dropped the polite nice guy act and I was just blunt. I looked her right in the eye and said, "My wife is my world. That's not an appropriate question for work, and it's not up for discussion." I expected her to get embarrassed, maybe stammer an apology, but that's not what happened. It was like I flipped a switch. The smile, the bubbly personality, all of it just vanished. Her face went completely blank. She just stared at me for a second and then said, "Okay," in this flat, dead voice. The rest of the night was just dead silent. It was the most uncomfortable hour of my entire career. Today, it's like I'm sitting next to a stranger. A really angry stranger. She won't look at me, but the vibe is so hostile it's making my skin crawl. I'm no longer dealing with a kid with a crush. I'm dealing with a pissed off woman I have to work with every single day. My big freak up was thinking that being direct would solve the problem, but I think I just made it 1,000 times worse. Now I'm just sitting here replaying it in my head, convinced she's going to march down to HR and claim I was the one hitting on her. So I think where OP messed up, and maybe where this serves as a life lesson, is not reporting her earlier. I mean, at this point, you don't even know if she's wanting to go like full scorched earth or something and like try to really take you down or something. OP could have done themselves a really big service by going to HR and having that documented from the get-go. I mean, especially, and I don't really want to be that guy, but like if OP was as serious to their wife as they say they are, they should have. Am I wrong? I'd love to know if you disagree in the comments. Jay Hurdle commented, "As others have said, anyone who's willing to just plow through all of your very obvious 'I am married' comments is very dangerous in a professional work setting. Document it now." And you didn't freak it up. There was likely nothing short of that outburst that would have gotten her to stop. Anything that offered even a chance would have failed to stop the behavior. Also, I hope you've been keeping your wife up to date on the situation. When you have to explain something like this as if it just came out of the blue, it looks bad. Certainly, if you haven't, now is the time to explain it, before something bad happens. Not for Throwaway replied, "Brother, you should have gone to HR weeks ago." Our next story is, "Today I messed up by telling my husband he needs to pay me if we open our relationship." My 32-year-old female, husband, 31-year-old male, were talking about friends of ours who opened their relationship with a written contract, max 5 people, no friends or family, full honesty, etc. He told me the girl had no choice, either accept or he would leave, but apparently she was okay with it in the end because he convinced her and she agreed. Whatever works for them, their relationship, their rules, why not? I told my husband if I had to open my relationship, I would need to be paid for it. I explained that for me, something like this would only make sense if both sides benefit. I have zero interest in sleeping with strangers, so for me, it would have to be the money to make up for the effort. I added that the price would have to be high so it actually feels like a burden. He looked skeptical. I just said it's a win-win. Everyone gets what they want or need, and that kind of deal must be fair for both parties. He asked me how much, and I laughed and said $500, plus $100 more per partner, reset every year. We both laughed and moved on. Later, he came back and asked me again what my price was. That's when I realized he might actually be considering it. It was supposed to be a joke. We've never even talked about opening our relationship. We do have our issues. Our intimate life is not the greatest since we had kids, but we're trying to make it work. Now I can't stop thinking he might actually want this, and I don't. I should have set a higher price. So yeah, I regret saying that. Edit, thanks for the replies and all the different insights. Some of you made me laugh, others really made me think about our relationship. English isn't my first language, so I didn't explain the pricing thing clearly. What I meant was $500 for the first time and partner, and then $600 for the second, $700 for the third, and so on. But that was obviously a joke, and I'm a stay-at-home mom with no job. So in a way, he already gives me money. Either way, I think we definitely need to talk about a few things. To those who said maybe he feels left out or his needs aren't fulfilled, you might be right. And that's something we need to talk about too. Well, communication is definitely everything in a relationship, and sometimes it works in the direction of you probably shouldn't communicate something you're not fully on board with. To be honest, and I don't presume to truly understand exactly how OP feels, but I feel like maybe the problem here isn't even truly like the price is high enough. It's that while there may very well be a price where you become okay with it, fundamentally the entire relationship is different from that point on. I mean, like realistically, you might be happy to get paid thousands of dollars to stick around while they sleep around, but you will still always feel differently about that person on a true relationship one-to-one level, and I think that's the real fear. Cohibas and Scotch commented, "Geez, this might be an actual big-time freak-up. That can of worms did not need to be opened like that. But also, $500? Way to sell yourself short." Ezwardall replied, $500, but maybe it's weekly, plus $100 annual admin fee per partner. There's also her quarterly checkup fee of $3,000, including the doc samples and lab tests. Don't forget the penalty of $50,000 if she catches an STD. If he catches an STD, then it's $500 for missed intercourse while they wait to resolve that issue. And oh dang, is she interested these days. Our next story is, today I messed up by showing my family the ugliest finger. When I was a kid, probably between 8 and 10, I was messing around on my mom's phone. I went into her camera roll and saw something. Now, I had zero idea what I was looking at. My brain couldn't comprehend it. To me, it looked like some kind of horrible, wrinkly, mutant finger, the ugliest finger I'd ever seen in my life. Naturally, I did what any responsible big sister would do. I showed my little sister. Look at this ugly finger. She agreed it was hideous. Then I decided to show my mom this cursed finger. Big mistake. Her eyes went wide, she gasped, and then she moved faster than I'd ever seen her move. She grabbed the phone like it was about to explode and deleted the picture right in front of me. When I went back later, it was gone. At the time, I didn't think too much about it. Years later, though, I realized it was not a finger. Not even close. So yeah, I proudly showed my little sister and my mom some random guy's junk, convinced I discovered the world's ugliest finger. Moral of the story, kids really do see the world with innocent eyes, and I really, really hope my little sister doesn't remember that day, or realizes what it actually was. You know, this story is definitely interesting to hear as a guy because I might not have had that same identification issue. Knowing me, if I did that, I probably would have been like, oh god, and like wanted to give the phone right back to my mom, like, please, take it away from me. Lukewarmy commented, yeah, you remember how MSN Messenger had the option to add GIFs for any letter? There was a trend in my friend circle to have a GIF for each letter. Very annoying to read, but I digress. Well, the letter capital I just happened to be a really funny looking mushroom, I thought. Sent my mom a message. She calls me up on the phone like, what the freak did you just send me? I can't have this showing up on my work laptop. Poor little kid me explains the mushroom theory. All my mom said was, it's not a mushroom, delete it. I just deleted it, embarrassed but clueless. The realization hit years later. OP replied commenting, oh my god, this is worse. Our next story is, today I messed up by asking for a different skin color. Obligatory, this happened when I was like 4, 2 decades ago. When I was 4, according to my family, I made an error that embarrassed my parents. In the McDonald's drive-thru of my hometown, I saw this poor teenager to young adult man with a beautiful dark skin. I immediately looked at my parents and loudly asked, why can't I have pretty skin like his? While pointing to the poor, flustered employee. My parents, pasty white people who turn into tomatoes when exposed to the sun, went wide-eyed and embarrassed by my outburst, as did the African-American employee who seemed both embarrassed and amused, thankfully. My parents tried to explain genetics in terms a 4-year-old could understand, but I was apparently very upset that I couldn't have pretty brown skin like the McDonald's man. I mean, maybe there are some 4-year-olds out there that have already learned some kind of very unsavory things from their parents, but in a way, it's really clear here that that was an innocent thing that happened, and I hope that nobody would be irrationally offended by what happened here. Like, does anybody in the comments think the parents should have acted differently or said something more here or apologized or something? Sir Vaniel commented, valid complaint. Some people got great skin. OP responded commenting, my pasty white parents probably have the same complaints to be honest. The sun is basically a weapon against them. Our next story is, today I messed up. I really underestimated how challenging it would be to take care of my younger siblings on my own at 19. My mom died 2 months ago, and I'm the oldest sibling, so I basically had to take over and be a parent to my younger siblings, who are 14 and 8 years old. I guess in the beginning, I was still in shock and didn't really think about what the future would look like after my mom's death. I just told myself that I've got this and that we'll figure it out together. As long as we've got each other, we would be alright. Now I realize how I severely underestimated the situation. I love my siblings and I would do anything for them, plus they're good kids and don't really give me problems, but wow, it is hard. It's like all of a sudden I have this huge responsibility and it's really overwhelming sometimes. I went from trying to figure out my life to now having to step up. They look up to me for everything. I have to figure things out, solve problems, etc. because I'm the oldest. I feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew, but then again, it's not like I had a choice, but even if I did have a choice, I wouldn't have abandoned them or anything. However, I do feel like I really underestimated how hard it was going to be. Anybody else kind of have that own perspective about their parents or maybe like some friends' parents or just really anybody that you see in a situation like that? Like, I think about my own parents and I had much older siblings, so I think about them at like 20 years old having a kid. And then I think about where I was in life at 20 years old, and I was like practically still a kid myself. I would never have been able to do any of that. I feel like when I was 20, I was just barely out of my own diapers, let alone changing my own kids'. Screwbottle commented, "Have you contacted Social Security to get survivor benefits for your siblings? If not, do that now." Our next story is, "Today I messed up. I'm a terrible husband." Today I realized I've been a terrible husband. We've been married almost a year and my wife does pretty much everything. She plans the meals, she cooks the meals, she manages the finances, she makes lunch for me, and she makes sure I have what I need. You know what I do? The dishes and sometimes the laundry. We both work full-time jobs and I'm also in school full-time, but there's no excuse. Today was really bad because I'd already made myself lunches for the week and forgot. She's in the kitchen making me lunches, and when she opens the fridge, she's like, "What are these?" I instantly realized I freaked up. I got to thinking about all she does, and I'm such a terrible partner. She doesn't like my cooking and gets upset when I try it her way because I'm not doing it right. How can I learn more about finances? I just want to make her happy and I've been failing. You know, I think the interesting thing OP didn't really delve on in the story is actually like the wife's mindset. Is the wife happy? Some people are actually happier when they're in control and doing all of these things. Not necessarily everybody wants 50-50. Don't get me wrong, the majority do, but how is the wife actually feeling? Thy Name commented, "It'll never be 50-50. I do 95% of the grocery runs. I take the boys to school every morning. I drive my wife to work when the weather's bad. I do the taxes every year. I do all the cooking. I take care of the cars and yard. I read books to the boys and tuck them in. I take over in high-stress environments like theme parks and stores. I do all the talking, coordinating, and ordering anywhere. I like doing it. I want my wife to feel loved, and I'm good at those things. She makes the money, cleans, and we have 2 mama's boys, so they always run to her. She pays the bills. The important thing is that together we make the whole pie. We aren't lazy and we talk and we tell each other that we're in love. I would say do what you can, understand that people have different strengths, and make each other feel loved." Our next story is, "Today I messed up by booking a client for hooking up instead of a therapy appointment." Background: I'm a therapist and often do 6 monthly check-ins with clients who have completed their program with me. Clients often forget their 6 monthly check-ins, so I just leave a voicemail to call me back. Today, I went to leave a voicemail for a client to say, "Hi Gary, I have you booked in for 6 monthly check-ins. Please call me back to make an appointment." However, today I mispronounced 6, which made me panic and stop halfway through my sentence. So my voicemail says, "Hi Gary, I have you booked in for sex month," followed by a pause of panic and lots of fumbling. This client is either never going to speak to me again, report me, or show up early for his next appointment. Look, OP, I didn't know it was like that. You bet I'll be there on time. I think unironically that's probably why I don't leave voicemails. There's no way I get one take and I'll do it right. I mean, shoot, half the time I make these post-story comments I have to pause and chop them up because I'm so scatterbrained. Darwin1809 commented, "LOL, I also fumble in a lot of voicemails, and I usually end with, okay, sorry, just call me." Our next story is, "Today I messed up, got denied at airport for a trip we planned for holiday. My wife has a long-time wish to visit Jeju Island in Korea. Told me several times, but postponed always as I did not have time off from work. Finally, we've decided to plan a trip for 5 days starting today, Saturday. Tickets have been bought, hotels have been booked, all good. We don't live in Korea, so it'll be a trip abroad, and for the context, my wife and I holding different passports. Visiting Korea is visa-free to me up to 90 days, at least on paper, while it requires a load of documents from her. But if you visit only Jeju Island, only the island is visa-free to her too. She told me she needs to fill an online arrival card 3 days prior, and all will be done. I checked for myself very thoroughly as I knew I didn't need a visa, and after a Google search and doing a skim reading of our consulate paper there, okay, still visa-free and need to fill an online form 3 days prior. So we arrived at the airport 3 a.m. in the morning, 2.5 hours prior to the flight, went straight up to checking, waited about 20 minutes in the queue. When it's our turn, they quickly gave the boarding card to my wife, but mine stalled there. They called several people, and those people asked me KETA online application. I thought it was the e-arrival card that we filed, but no, it's something you need to do if you're from a visa-free country. So, they normally require a visa from her, difficult to get, but if only to go to that island it's visa-free. On the other hand, they don't require a visa from me at all to visit Korea, wherever I want to visit there. But even visiting this island, I need to complete an entry application like an e-visa. Crap, I thought if it was visa-free, I should be able to enter with a passport. We left the counter, sat on the floor, I switched on my laptop, did this application in like 10 minutes, paid $10 and what? The result page says, your application status is under assessment. Airline officer told me it's likely to be approved the next day, not now, so everything's gone to garbage. I suggested to my wife to take the flight by herself, and the next day I'll join if I can get this paper. She said no, unbelievable that we had to return home. I felt so ashamed. 5 a.m. we've arrived back home just to get back on my laptop to check this detail and see what? My application is approved already. So it cost me 1,000 and terrible tension with my wife. I still can't understand how I couldn't bother to go to the details about requirements when I got tickets. I mean, the time is now for OP to try to make it up to their partner, but I guess let it be a huge and painful, very painful life lesson. If you're taking a trip somewhere, double check what exactly you need to get in the country, and especially more so, double check what flies in that country. And I don't mean on the plane, but what kind of etiquette that you might not expect goes on in that country that is expected of you. You know, stuff like bringing chewing gum to Singapore. Murdub commented, those e-travel authorization things get approved ridiculously quickly in 95% of cases. It's always worth waiting around to see if it comes through and you can still get on your flight, or even the next flight out. Going home right away was the real mess up here. OP responded commenting, mine took more than an hour. We actually waited until about 4 a.m. There, me constantly refreshing the page. I saw people leaving the check-in counter and plus being told that it wasn't going to be approved until the next day, so at the end it didn't matter. It didn't come earlier than gate closing time. Our next story is, today I messed up by Googling a Pokemon stuffed animal I own. So I, 22-year-old male, really like plushies. Always have. I also adore Pokemon. I have several favorites, among them being Sylveon, Deerling, Scorbunny, and Lopunny. The bunny Pokemon have a special place in my heart because I used to have a pet rabbit named Coffee. I love that rabbit a lot and was devastated when she passed away because it was an unnatural death that honestly still messes with me to this day. Anyway, I have a plush of all of my favorites, including Lopunny. I got really attached to Lopunny because of the brown color and the fluff reminds me of Coffee. Coffee was a lion's mane rabbit, but I didn't like the official Pokemon Center plush, the only one you could really get because it was stuck sitting. I never really liked plushies stuck in a pose. I was the kid who would cut the little threads on Valentine's hearts and stuff to free up teddy bears' hands. Anyway, long story short, after looking around, I found an independent plushie maker in Ukraine who did awesome work, who was selling some made-to-order Lopunny plushes that looked awesome. It was pricey, and it was a bit of a wait since he had to buy the material and make it, but it was so worth it. She arrived and she was perfect. Now here's where I freaked up. After a few months, I unfortunately started to wonder if anyone else had bought this plush, as it was fantastic quality and really brought the character to life. So I did what I've done in the past, Google image search. This might sound dumb, but it's helped me find people who like the same characters as me before. Obscure Transformers character, Googled some art I did and actually found someone else who drew him. We now swap art of him. It's great. So I do the search. Important detail, I have safe search off as I'm an artist and need anatomy references. And oh god, I wish it was on. First and only result for this plushie. Detail, the artist also offered a shiny version with red instead of cream details. It was a freeze frame from a not safe for work website of someone boinking a modified shiny one with a certain adult toy lodged into a poorly cut hole between its legs. I immediately left Google and just kinda processed. Like, honestly, that was on me. I know people are freaks about Lapunny, unfortunately, which is freaking weird because it's literally a rabbit, so I'm never going to do that again, and I'll never be able to get that image out of my head. And here I was, thinking I could find a friend and someone who liked Lapunny as much as I did. I should have known better. All I know is I've become rabidly protective of my Lapunny plush. I know there's like no active threat to it, but god, that freaked me out. Let me clarify, I've been a big Pokemon fan, probably up until like the DS generation, the Diamond, Silver, Platinum. After that, I really kind of stopped playing. But one thing I've been forced to learn through the internet is that any character from Pokemon, there is somebody that wants to boink it. Hey, have you heard that Vaporeon is scientifically the most... And I'm gonna stop there. God forbid the things I've heard about people in Pokemon like Gardevoir. And God forbid everything I've been forced to hear about literally every human female character in the anime. J3NC commented, I think you might have found someone that likes Lapunny a bit more than you. OP responded commenting, unfortunately. Our next story is, today I messed up by using exercise to put the baby to sleep. Where I work houses different businesses under one roof. Recently, one of the women from a different company came back from maternity leave with her 2-month-old baby. We've all been taking responsibility for the baby and trying to help the mother in whatever capacity we can. I noticed pretty early on that he stops fussing when I walk around with him. I could be mistaken, but I think it's because he was used to the constant motion of the womb. Being a runner, I saw this as an opportunity to get my steps in with a weighted vest. So the walking around developed into going up and down the stairs and free weight exercises. I was enjoying it a lot because I felt I was really helping out. The baby stops crying and I get my strength training in. Win-win. He's even started falling asleep to our exercise routine. Now, even in the calm times, once he sees me, he starts motioning for me and gets fussy when I don't take him. I don't mind the baby vomit or drool-soaked clothes. My only issue is now I don't always have the energy to go up 3 flights of stairs multiple times holding a baby after I've had a long run or having a rest day. I'm starting to slightly regret introducing him to the wonderful world of exercise. Would it be normal for the parent's average health to actually increase when they have a baby? Don't get me wrong, OP's clearly not the parent and rest days are important, but that baby's kind of like the ultimate cheerleader off to the side or literally in your arms like, come on, just 3 more flights of stairs, just push for it. Like, it's hard for me to look my dog in the eyes and say, sorry bud, I'm just not feeling it, we can't go for that walk right now. Imagine a baby that's like reaching out to you like, please, just 3 more flights of stairs. I'd be like, alright man, I got 1 foot in the grave, but I still got 3 more flights of stairs in me to give that sleepy baby. Your cozy angel commented, this kid's first words are gonna be, 1 more rep. OP responded commenting, I would prefer it if they were, you're absolutely right. Rest is an important part of training, and we should do that. Our next story is, today I messed up and tits 14 years too late to fix. Most of us have a name for our spouse or significant other. Playing with Siri one day, I changed my wife's name on my phone to Boobs McGee and never bothered to change it back. Obviously, when you change the name of someone on your phone, that name is associated with all of the contact information for that person. So even though my wife's name isn't a part of her email address, every time I would email her, the name shown would be Boobs McGee. For 14 years, I thought I was the only one that saw that. However, every email I've ever sent that had my wife copied on, the recipient saw Boobs McGee every freaking email, including our daycare center. I'd like to thank the wonderful team at Chuck E. Cheese Event Planning for pointing this information out to me in an extremely professional manner. Hey OP, it's Charles Entertainment Cheese here, and I just have to say I noticed something funny about your wife's name on the email. Could you imagine anybody you email where you copy your wife in, the daycare center, the school admins? You gotta talk to the family lawyer about something, and you CC Boobs McGee over there. That's so great, it's an all-time mess up. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy story of how somebody messed up, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check that video on the right. That's it, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.